All right, guys, as promised, we are back for questions. Sorry about that. Live studio idiot over here for YouTube. So I'm amazing at real estate, not at YouTube. So we are here, happy to answer questions. If you just came from the other live stream, like I said, we wanted to make sure we were going to get this thing up and going. So I just did a 25-minute video talking about my 4-3-2-1 strategy, how it works, how it applies, how you get into it, how you can manage it, as I believe that this strategy is the least expensive strategy available to becoming a multimillionaire in real estate. I do. If there's a better plan, somebody can certainly show it to me. I just don't see, I haven't seen one. And I've been around for a long time, over 20 years in this game. I've watched a lot of other strategies, and there's wholesaling, there's, all sorts of these different strategies, but I just honestly haven't seen any that rivals this strategy as far as getting into the system. So I'll let some other folks join. But again, if anyone has any questions, you are more than welcome to ask them. I'm here to answer questions. I won't go for 3 hours this time, I promise, but I probably will go for, I don't know, at least another half hour, 45 minutes. Live in Silicon Valley, fourplexes are 2.1. Yeah. So G Glover asks, can I help fourplexes or 2.1 million in your area? Hey, Andrew, thanks for joining. So G Glover. So here's the challenge that you'll always have is that you still have to be, in generally speaking, an affordable market. The numbers have to still make sense. Now, the thing that you can look at is understanding that those fourplexes are $2.1 million. What are the rents? Understanding those rents are super, super important, right? So understanding those rents that you can get out of those units is what helps justify the cost. So I'm not saying definitely not in the $2.1 million market, but it sure as heck is a lot easier getting into a market like that at 2.1 million if you can count the rents towards your numbers. The other things that you have to look at too is VA and FHA, I believe, have a ceiling when it comes to how much money they'll actually lend against a property. So that will also be an impedance. However, like I said, look at the rents, understand what those count towards your mortgage. And then at that point, it just becomes a math problem. So my recommendation is pick a property, pick a few properties, scenario analysis it out and say, okay, what are these rents going to go for? Talk to an agent. Say, hey, do you know of any fourplexes for sale? And they say, sure, we have a fourplex that's for sale. Okay, it's $2.1 million. Great. What are the rents? Because what it really comes down to is it comes down to a math equation. I've actually worked with a couple of folks that are in Silicon Valley. They're in the San Francisco area. The fourplexes that they found, they were in that $1.5 million range where they were kind of shopping. It was an 11% negative amortization. So that sucks. And that's even with them paying a rent. So for me personally, I wouldn't move into a negative 11% amortization deal. I wouldn't move into something where literally I'm going to lose, basically I'm coming up with that much of the cost every single year. I wouldn't live in a deal like that. Now, understanding that that means you might have to move, understanding that you might not be able to move, and that makes it a non-possibility. Totally get it. Not a problem. This isn't for every single market in the country for obvious reasons. This just largely speaking gives you the best shot in any market because you are able to count if it's a 4-unit, you're able to count 3 of those units towards the mortgage. And you can count 85% of those rents. So as the example that I used in my video, his mortgage, I believe, is $2,200 a month, but his rents are $2,400. But because they were under market, his rents can probably go to $2,800, maybe even $3,000, but even $2,800 conservatively. Then he's making $600 a month because that $2,200 of a mortgage payment isn't just mortgage. It's principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. So the only things to add on to that are things like water and such. So G Glover, hopefully that answers your question. Yeah, so 800K. Oh, Andrew, thank you. Appreciate that. Yep. So 800K-ish for FHA in the Bay Area. That is definitely where you will see some pain. Not buying, for me, I don't see how those numbers work because I've actually worked with some folks. In fact, Andrew specifically, we had a conversation about that. And again, that's what I think some of those things are going to change in the country. I think that that's the stuff that they need to work on is making, if you're going to give it for some parts of the country, then you need to have it adjusted for the whole entire country where it's more locality. Otherwise the program doesn't help and it's not effective at all. And then it, literally creates winners and losers. Jason Kincaid, New York and California are extending to no rent needed model. New York says only one more year. Yeah, honest to God, Jason, like if you saw my videos in the last week, I have not been gentle. Yeah, it's the sad thing is that people vote in government, right? People, if you're in one of those states, hopefully, you're voting based on your book. That's what happens. But this is what happens when you create safety nets and when you create program after program after program. For me, and I talked about it with Mike Zuber, and I talked with Dion on the Saturday broadcast. I actually said, for me, I would look part of my decision criteria if I would invest out of state, which just so you know, I don't think I will. I can't say for 100% sure I won't because I've looked at a couple of opportunities. I don't think I will. Certainly not until I give up my W-2 job. But in looking at those states, New Jersey, January 1, that is ridiculous. Like Governor Murphy should be absolutely ashamed of himself because that's an embarrassment. He clearly has no clue how business works, and enjoy because the folks that are owning that affordable housing, guess what? They're not going to make it affordable next time. I don't know what that market is in New Jersey. I know this hurts it longer term. And that's going to be the pinch that you're going to see, all that affordable housing going by the wayside. And there aren't a whole lot of, housing projects across the country that work very well. So it's one of those things where for me, it's really about alignment with the state that I'm doing business in. Are they aligned with me as a landlord to help me and make sure that I'm getting paid because I'm providing a service? And if not, then the state backs me up and says, yeah, we will do X, Y, or Z for you to do this. So that's something, pretty interesting. Let's see. Thanks, Andrew. David Manley, off topic. Curious how you'd approach renovating a 50s house, including electrical, kitchen, bath, when there's a tenant already that you'd like to keep. That's a tough one. That's tough because if you're 50s and you want to do electrical, kitchen, and bath, that's a gut. To me, that's a gut. So you can't gut with somebody living there. But great question. I flip. I don't really love flipping just because I do all this work. I make the place beautiful. And then guess what happens? I then sell it and I make one-time money. I don't like that. I like revenue streams. That's what I like. I like cash flow. I don't really care about the one bumps. That's why I don't care. Largely speaking, you probably won't hear this from any other investor on YouTube. I don't give two you-know-whats if my properties go up. Don't care. I got 30-year fixed debt, so I don't care. My rents are fixed and they go up over time. My expenses from taxes and insurance and things like that are marginal, so I can usually cover that with a few percentage points of a rent increase. So largely speaking, I don't really care if my properties go up. If my properties were only worth what they were worth, 20 years ago, which obviously they aren't, but if they were, my rents have still all gone up substantially. And people entering the game now, that's where you can enter the game now. You get on board. And when you enter that game, you've got a lower interest rate. You have usually a lower payment. And that's all good because that will help you in delivering, proper affordable housing to the market. The challenge comes into play where it's all about that payment, right? The house being $1 million or $10 million, it's all about that payment and then how much the rents are and then how much of that one covers the other. So for me, it's all about that payment. Let's see. G Glover, thanks, Andrew. Yes, thank you, Andrew. So the 50s thing, like I said, I would gut and redo, but then you're looking at sheetrock and everything else. Those numbers have come down a lot. So I understand wanting to hold on to that tenant, completely get it. And quite frankly, answer below, that was from David. So David, answer below if you just like that tenant because they pay on time. I mean, are you making enough on the property? What do you think the upside is? So you invest whatever, let me know what your budget is. You invest that money. How much more rent do you expect to get? So give me some of those numbers and I'll continue that topic. John Doe just went under contract on a house across the street from me. Very cool. Is it awkward living so close to tenants, Matt? Do you find that they take better care of the property? Yes. Yes and yes. So I have obviously lived in buildings with my tenants. So that's sort of okay. If you're a good landlord, it's less of a problem. If you're a bad landlord, I mean, I have someone that I know that was a horrible landlord, and he's like, I avoid my tenants in the parking lot. I get it. I would avoid them too if I were as bad of a landlord as you are. So yeah, totally get that. But yeah, it's not bad. The nice thing is you can see exactly how they take care of the property. And when it comes to lease renewal time, did they do the things that they said they were going to do? It's nice to keep an eye on it. It's a little bit unnerving because then you know everything that happens and goes on there. So that can kind of be a little bit scary. But yeah, do I find that they take better care of the property? Yeah, I mean, outside, I think that we probably we have single digits percentages that we have that take care of anything outside. It's really, really low because we do everything. We take care of lawns, we do shrubs, we do all of that stuff. And then in the wintertime, we do all the plowing. So it's pretty small, anything that they're doing. The big thing for me is trash. And this year, more than any time ever, in fact, all the bad tenants that we had, which was 2, that were not paying rent, they were all trash problems. They all created trash issues and trash problems and calls from cities. And so that was my nightmare. The thing is that I can't, if I remove it, I lose my case to get them thrown out. If I leave it there, I have to deal with the other tenants complaining about it being there. So I just had to work with those tenants. And so that those 2 tenants made life pretty difficult. But guess what? Party's over. So they'll be gone soon. Let's see. G Glover. Okay, cool. Thanks. Tanker Crew Chief, the 3 amigos. Yes, sir. It's a lot of fun. I love working with those guys. Jason Kincaid, Senate Bill 1079 is a set up bill. I will definitely take a look. One of the cool things that I encourage everybody to do is get involved in a local landlord group. I know the landlord group that I'm involved in actually has attorneys that attend. Attorneys own real estate. So it's an amazing network opportunity. It's not a meetup. It's an actual group. And so we do get together once a month. We do talk about, obviously different issues, but we have a unique situation where we have a number of attorneys that are in the group, which is really a lot of fun. They get business from us, obviously, because some of them handle guys' evictions in the group. But what's also really cool about it is that a number of them see all of the stuff coming out of the state. So they see it all. If they see something that's, onerous or bad, guess what? They send it out to the entire group and everyone gets to see exactly what the bill is and what it's meant to do. And then it's up to, the nice thing is that they don't push guidance and say, this is what you need to do. They send it out to everybody. Everybody gets to look at it. When everybody gets to look at it, kind of the neat thing for us is that you can then make the decision, does this help me? Does this hurt me? And then you can actually call your local congressman and, tell them you don't want that bill signed and here's why, or send them an email. So it's actually helped a lot of us become much more active in our local politics because that's something that they actually watch, keep track of and take care of. And I will take a look at that bill, Jason. And then sometime, maybe in the wee hours of the morning this evening. Do you think with wage growth in your area, I'm making an assumption, wage growth in every area is pretty safe to assume right now anyway, that 104 affordability index goes up exponentially, making SFHs only temporarily unaffordable? I'm guessing that is that this is just a form. So great question. So Andrew's talking about our 104 affordability index, which actually hit an all-time low or high, depending on how you're looking at it. Low because it means the worst affordability. High because it means the worst affordability, but the number's low. It's kind of like a golf score thing. Actually, no, it's not. It's the opposite of golf score. Lower is bad. Lower is worse. So we had a 101. We bounced up to a 104. That 104 is still about 40 points away from where it should be. It should be like 140, 144 in a healthy market. So I would argue that housing is unaffordable if only 4% making the median income can afford a home. Housing is super unaffordable. I think personally, single family homes, I think that it will range. I think that if you are sub 300 in my area, your house moves pretty quick. If you are more than 500, totally different ballgame. If you're more than 800, completely different ballgame. So the ones that are 800 or so, those are much more dependent on the stock market and what the stock market's doing, because usually those folks are, in really high paying jobs. And so that's more directly impacted. But yeah, sub 300, I think will continue to be a very hot market, very difficult to handle because there's just no inventory. Any of the builders around us that are building homes, we don't have really like Toll Brothers and those guys like those, because there's not like those big swaths of land like there are in the Midwest and the South. And so a lot of ours are local builders, but when they're building something, they're not building something that is, 1,500 square feet, largely speaking. In fact, there was a development that was just put out there. I want to say it was 8 houses, and I want to say that they were like 16 or 1,700 square feet, and they're in a, mezza town. And they were like 479 or something. Like the pricing is ridiculous. I mean, you're talking over $300 a foot. And that price will be down 30 to 40 grand just based on lumber retracking. Labor is not the biggest issue, but if they had the labor, then lumber retracking will knock that price down for the next set that they put up. So affordability in single family homes, I do expect it to remain difficult. For me in New Hampshire, I don't like single families. I just don't. They don't cash flow enough for me. I'm the dominator of the duplex. I love duplexes. I buy them as often as I can. The challenge is I'm usually up against owner occupied, so I need to buy the biggest dump and then gut it, make it beautiful, and then it's brand new to me and brand new to the person moving in. And that's usually where I'm unearthing value. So that shouldn't of speculation, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Oh yeah, so that answers the question. Those are my thoughts. Isaac Sarnice, is the 4-3-2-1 strat a thing to add on to, or is it good by itself? It's good by itself. It's good by itself. Really, really powerful. Like I said, usually what ends up happening is if you're in a single family home, you can't do the 4-3-2-1 unless you move to a different market. And you know what? There's a lot of people I know in the last year that have sold their homes thinking we're at the very top, thinking that they're going to buy something at a massive discount in 2 years. Ishka. I hope they're right. Because I think what's going to happen is pricing does level off. I mean, again, this does not happen in a housing market unless you're looking at like a 5-year span. That doesn't happen in 6 months. What ends up happening is you get up to here and then it starts to crest and then it starts to plateau and then it might be slight decline. And then if it's something systemic in the system, then you see a more gradual decline. But look back at the numbers for 7, 8, or 8, 9, and 10, or 9, 10, 11, and 12. The worst year decline was 8.9%. The biggest issue you had was a 4-year decline over that time, or 5-year decline over that time, that I think took, 20-something% out of the market. But again, those are nice numbers, and it's nice to see that a market, or bad to see that a market can do that, but understand that it's possible. The nicest thing about looking at something like that is recognizing A, that it can happen, but B, it's hyper local. Mike from One Rental at a Time, Mike Zuber, talks about a building that I think he bought it for like 105 and he sold it for 269. But then he was able to buy the thing back for, I want to say it was like 60 grand or 65 grand. That did not happen in New Hampshire. We have much lower lows, but we also have we have much higher lows and much lower highs. So you're kind of trading in a range, California a lot can be this, especially with kind of garbage product like the Liar loans and the Ninja loans and things like that actually, facilitated a lot of that craziness that we saw. Let's see. All right, back to questions. So yeah, so the 4-3-2-1 strategy does work on itself. I'm managing for my mother and don't want to disrupt the revenue stream. Yep, but want to update the house as it's been in the family since it was built. Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, so every decision that I make is based on math. Pretty much. Almost all. 99%. How's that for math? So I would just look at the math, improving that building. So if you have a tenant that you love and the rent is decent, so you have to so let's walk through that scenario. If you have the property, but you have a tenant that you really like, but they're paying about market, I wouldn't touch it. I wouldn't bother. I would wait until they're ready to leave and then do it. Unless you're getting to the point where you're like, we're going to have to sell this. Well, when that time comes, it depends on if you need the money. There's just so many variables. But if I'm in your shoes, me personally, if I owned a property that was kind of outdated, but I had a good tenant in there was paying close to market, I would leave it. Yep. If I had a tenant in there and they were paying way below market, then I would probably look at it and say, okay, if I'm going to spend $50,000 redoing this unit, but I can get $600 more, $700 more a month in rent, and that basically gives me like a 4-year payoff or so, then I might consider doing it. I might consider doing it because you can do that work probably in 6 or 7 months. So then you have to figure that lost rent for that amount of time and the amount of return that you're going to need to see on that. That's why in a lot of cases, it makes sense just to leave it there. We have parts in, not so much around here. It's more like more towards the Boston area where you could buy a 3-unit multifamily for $1 million, but then gut it, spend another $1 million, and then sell each of the units for $1.5 million. So you basically buy it for $1 million, $1.5 million. You put about $1 million into it. Now you're into it for 2.5, but then you can get $1.5 million per unit times 3. It's 4.5 after you pay fees and all this other stuff. That's what a ton of developers did for a real, real long time. I know that a bunch of towns have outlawed that or made it basically impossible to turn those units into condos now, so you can actually sell them off. But yeah, I've seen that. And that's usually when you're talking, it's those numbers, but those are closer to the city. I have a bunch of units like that. I have one that comes to mind that I could probably do that and make some decent money, but it's a 4-unit that I make like $5,000 a month on. I just absolutely am crushing it there. And so I don't want the hundreds of thousands of dollars for a payoff. I'll take the $60,000 every single year, because where else am I going to put that money to get that kind of return on it? Anyway, that's my thought. Harry Hunter, do you think the upcoming homelessness tsunami will force the government to form a new program to house people? Maybe an expansion of Section 8 with increased rents to attract landlords. So yes, I think the number for housing is going to go up. And so voucher program, Section 8, basically the same thing, or exactly the same thing. It's just who refers to what, or what people refer to it as. I think that I don't think there's nearly the homelessness tsunami that you think there's going to be. I think that there's a lot of people. In fact, I have somebody that I'm getting rid of and evicting, and they've already talked to housing and to the COVID relief funds, and they are going to fund their security deposit in 3 months of their first rent. Like, how freaking crazy is that? And I said to her, great, get out, and I won't evict you. If you don't get out, I'm just going to evict you, but save the eviction going on your record and just find another place fast. She's like, well, I just can't really find the right place. Really? Like, you're going to have to make more of an effort. And you have somebody really willing to literally write a check for like $5,000 for you. And so, yeah, that's just, don't pull the cord, Harry. Yeah, that'll get me going and probably banned from YouTube. Let's see. Nick, what is your strategy for screening tenant applications if they look good on paper? What do you think for in the interview, or what do you look for in the interview that may be a red flag? So, Nick, that is an awesome question. One thing that I put out, you can find it on my channel, is I did a renter and landlord eviction moratorium. I don't know, not spreadsheet, but video basically talking about, I think I called it like the playbook or something like that. Watch those 2 videos. They're both really good, if I don't say so myself, but that's what I'm doing now. Because here's the scenario. Somebody gets evicted right now, right? They're going through the process of getting evicted. I get a phone call. Somebody says, yeah, I really love your place. I want your place, blah, blah, blah. And what do? They get a friend to pose as the property manager, because I've actually had that happen. They can show that here's my paycheck, here's my credit score, and here's a fake reference. The old way, they'd get past me. So I've adopted 2 new things that I do. The first thing that I do is I actually have them show me proof that they actually paid their rent the last 3 months to their landlord. Proof. And now what I do is I don't take the landlord reference from them. I actually look up the deed. Yeah, I'm a jerk. But I look up the deed, and then I see exactly the name of the person that should be calling me. And then it's tough. And then I ask them where they live, because I want to check their deed and make sure that I'm not, it's extra steps, but it's extra steps that I have to take. So I've never done that checking of the deed before. I do that now. And then verify, because usually I can get that person's phone number also pretty easy from verification. And then, like I said, the biggest thing for me is showing me that they paid me their landlord the last 3 months. Oh, will I pay in cash? Hell no. Nope. Not doing it. Nope. And again, I posted a unit for Friday. I think I had 20 responses. I don't need to take the stories. I'm going to find 2 or 3 people in that group that are like shining stars. And then it's just a matter of, picking which one not to vote off the island, right? That's really what it comes down to. So Nick, hopefully that answers the question. Theta Hedge Capital. I just watched a video you did a few months ago where you used Raceway in an older home. We were wondering what that brand was that you used. Raceway. I don't know what Raceway is, but you can ask again and I will answer. Andrew, nice thanks. Oh, you're welcome. BMU, super strong. Love it. Theta Hedge Capital. I know you have been in real estate for a long time. Has there ever been a time when rents have gone down? And if so, by how much? Thanks. Ooh, great question, Theta. Great question, Theta Hedge Capital. I've not seen, trying to think. Yeah, I don't think so. I think the only time, believe it or not, the only time that actually happened was not even during the crash. During the crash, they went up. It happened before the crash. The reason why was, and Mike from One Rental at a Time experienced the same thing. We had people that we were denying rent or denying for rentals that were getting home loans. What the hell? Yeah. A bank. Now, I don't know if they lost their homes, but if I had to guess, I would say they did. I literally had somebody that got had a 560 credit score. They got a mortgage. Like, there's no way they're still in that home because their income was low, especially for, their debt to income had to have been like 60 or 70% because we did that when we were taking rental applications. So yeah. Yep. Just kind of absolutely crazy. But yeah, so back to the landlord thing. Sorry, Nick, I just remembered something real quick. When they run their credit report, nothing will have been reported on their credit. So that credit report is completely useless. Because if their landlord cannot report that they haven't paid rent because of the CARES Act. So you won't even find it there. That's why a credit report now is largely useless. I want to see what their income in and out is. And you can get their credit report. I just tell them I want to see a Credit Karma report. And then if I really like the tenant, but I have a question, then I'll do a real credit report where it's like a $20 pull. I hate application fees. I hate doing that to people. So really after talking to people and getting their emails and having them, send us their situation and then see the place on a Saturday, we usually have our pick of the litter from there. And like what Dion has said, we've actually seen a number of rents go up over ask. I had somebody that I think it was a $1,400 unit. And, we agreed on $1,600 a month, 2 years. How nuts is that? Like $200 a month over. And they wanted to do a 2-year lease. You know what though? It's nuts, but they're smart because I'm locking in at 1,600 when the unit's probably worth 17 now, probably worth 18 in a year as far as rent goes. And they don't have to worry about it for 2 years. Very smart. No uptick no uptick on that side for them. So very smart move for them. And they seem like very nice people. And for me, I can get rid of them just as easily with a 1-year lease or a 2-year lease. So if they, for some reason, don't pay and they become a problem, I can still evict them. Let's see. BMU 7979. I data mine probate and inherited property names, addresses, and phone numbers. Looking for a good VA firm or cold callers. Me. So no, I actually have kind of my own processes in place. So yeah. So I really appreciate it though, but always love getting asked. Yeah. If you ever find anything in my area is the coast of New Hampshire. So if you ever find anything in my area, I'm always willing to look at a deal. Jason Kincaid, that will get me going and probably banned from. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, if you guys couldn't tell, I can't suffer people. Like if you see me in the comments and you're gonna leave a doofus comment, I want facts, man. I'm more than willing to have a conversation, but don't hit me with feelings. Ask my wife. I don't do very well with feelings. What do you think about buying a primary owner house to rent out to your own corporation with the rent payment as a tax write-off and also a $25,000 basement reno as a tax write-off for that house? So I am not a tax accountant. I know people that have done that. I've done things like that, but not that exactly. So in premise, love the idea. That's much more a question for a tax attorney. Yeah, much more a question for a tax attorney of how to properly structure that. So all of the concepts of like LLCs and S corps holding those LLCs, I don't get into any of that because I'm not a tax attorney, and it's way like it's so far beyond me. Literally, my strategy was formulated with my team, which is an attorney and a tax person, but they're not the same person. So my strategy was formed with those two people. And so we have our strategy that we use, and it gives me the protections that I want. That being said, with what we went through in the last year and a half and how much my business is expanding, we're actually looking at exploring, probably a more complex model to take some more benefits, but we still have a ways to go on that side of it. Excuse me. Nick, awesome. Thanks, man. Appreciate the help. And we'll definitely check out those. Yeah, Nick, don't miss those videos. I think they're like 10 minutes each, worth their weight in gold. And I haven't found anything else out there on the internet that was of value that we're like, hey, this is how we're doing it now. I haven't found anything like that. One guy literally said, just make sure you're still running your credit reports and that you're still checking the courts. There isn't going to be anything in there. There's some states that are 2 months behind already on evictions based on caseload that's gotten in there. Like, what's that going to do for you? You're going to get them as a tenant and realize that they're going to eventually have an eviction show up on the record. And here's the bad thing. A lot of landlords just kind of like, fine, whatever, they're gone. That's all I wanted. Guys, you are screwing yourselves and other landlords. Finish the eviction. Finish it. Finish the eviction. Try to collect on that money. Sell it to a collection agency. Do something for your fellow landlords. It's not just your responsibility, but it's the responsibility of other landlords to be doing this as well, because guess what? If they got out and they got out unscathed, do you think that they're going to screw the next landlord? Of course they are. And we can't just come on, guys, we're landlords. We're all in this together. We're trying to provide affordable housing for tenants. They don't understand. A lot of people don't understand that we're in it with them. And when I say a lot of people don't understand, I'm talking, single digit percentages, 10, maybe 15%. So maybe double digit, but just cresting that mark. So my belief is that doing the right thing, you still need to follow through. You still need to finish. You still need to do the right thing. If you do all those things, then we're going to create a proper system where everything works. And at the end of the day, the most important thing is if somebody was evicted and with cause and the judge found it a reason to, then likely I don't want to rent to that tenant. But we have to do that for each other, which is follow through. And if you've already lost thousands and thousands of dollars, I can promise you, it's worth the extra few $100 that you're going to spend to get the official eviction taken care of and wrapped up and done. And then the book is closed and closed for good. That's my thought. Wire molding. Wire molding. Okay. So I hate wire molding. I used it. I've had a couple cases where I had to, but largely speaking, I don't use wire molding. I don't like it. So I will spend the money with an electrician where we will just port a hole, put it in the wall, raise it up a level. That's what we will do almost every single time because I just don't like wire molding. Especially, it's just, you're going to be done. And a lot of times we're in there already doing work anyway. So we'll just pop the hole in the wall, raise it up from an outlet, get it to come out higher. So it really depends on what you're having to wire mold for. The bigger issue too is like if it's a first floor, it's a no-brainer. If it's a second floor with an attic above it, again, no-brainer. So one of the concepts that you might want to think about is, again, off of the outlet, then just basically pulling the outlet out, having an electrician basically make that, you can make that a box there, but then just have a wire coming up off of it. That gets done all the time. It's totally legal. Obviously make sure it's being done by a licensed electrician. But yeah, we've done what we call takeoffs. So we take off of an outlet. And then, if it's like, an outlet for like a television, or you need to do another outlet in the wall, cause you want more outlets in the room. That's definitely the way to do it is. And they have all sorts of bits and things like that they can actually, if they take the box out of the wall, they can actually get in there and they can drill through the studs and they can feed another line. Now it's expensive and it takes forever. It's a slow process. But like I said, it beats wire molding in my eyes. Raceway. That's interesting. Race. I've never heard it called Raceway, but okay. MZ's 50-year spreadsheet. Yep, Mike Zuber's 50-year spread is epic and helps me understand the variance. Yes. In payment more clearly. Yes. That said, I wonder if buy now, pay later and increasing educational costs and credit card debt may skew the data. Yeah, I mean, so I love that spreadsheet because it gives me all the housing data. The challenge is that that's housing as it stands, largely speaking, as it stands alone. It's only for jobs, and then inflation, or not inflation growth, wage growth, and then value, and then rates. So I agree with Mike. I'm not an economist, as you guys know. I'm a ninth grade dropout. And I don't even play an economist on TV. That's Mike's job because he's that smart. He's done that work and he's trained in that. But I'm the same way. I watch the consumer. I watch the consumer, watch what the consumer's doing. If they're fearful of losing their jobs, spending drops. And I think that's what we've seen in some of these, recent numbers. And stimmy payments. Stimmy's going away. Federal benefits going away in a number of states. So it's definitely a hard thing to figure out. What's really amazing to me is, I don't know if you guys watch CNBC, so I'll just, give you a quick 60-second view. But in my mornings, I'm watching CNBC and I watch, them have, 6 analysts on there, and on jobs as an example, they're calling, I was actually I think I was 10,000 off on jobs, last month. And I said, I think it's going to be about 1 million. I think it ended up 980 or 990. And the crazy thing is that was just my feeling based on the fact of the help wanted signs I saw out there and the fact that a number of states pulled back stimmy payments and also extension of benefits. What's really interesting to me and what continues to amaze me is 6 experts. And this is what they do for a living. And guys, make no mistake, these guys all make crazy money. Hundreds of thousands of dollars, in some cases, millions of dollars. Literally crazy money. And they barely ever get it right. And the range, and some of them can be so far off. And it's because it's all based on a model. So the thing that you have to understand is, with all of these things, it's based on a model. If your model's great, you might hit it once. If your model's perfect, then you hit it pretty much every single month and you get it in range. Watch and track these guys month to month. They're right one month or within 10,000 or 20,000 jobs one month. And then the next month they're off 400,000, which means that model did not work because it was different. So that does happen. Let's see. So yeah, so to fully answer the question, yeah, the buy now, pay later, the credit card debt. I mean, the one thing is that we have more in savings than I think we've ever had from a savings rate because so many people put money away, right? But crazy spending, and it's just, I mean, it's impossible for me to get to the bottom of it. For me, I just look at really the metrics of, will things get difficult if some event occurs and we go back to 15% unemployment? Of course it does. The key for me is cash flow, though. When I'm looking at bringing a portfolio into my property, and this is gold. When I look at bringing a portfolio property into my portfolio, when I look at doing that, what I'm looking at is how much of the rent is covered. And when I bring that into my seasoned portfolio, how much do my mortgages cost me versus what my overall rents are? So a number that I run is about 60 to 65% of my rents. If 60 to 65% of my rents are paid, I can pay all of my mortgages. I can pay all of my insurances. I can pay everything, 65%. And that happens over time. That happens as you get seasoned. Actually probably 60. Yeah, between 60 and 65%. It's just changed because we've, as you guys have seen, we bought a bunch of properties. We have a bunch more that we're onboarding in the next 6 weeks that we're going to close on. So that number will change. That number will likely go up in a bad way. It'll probably go up 60 between instead of 60 and 65, probably 65 to 70. But that's kind of the rule, is that then if I have 70% of my people paying, and even in some of the worst areas, they still reported having 80% of their people paying, which means I still make money. I don't make as much money, but I still make money and I cover my costs. So that's what I look at when I'm bringing in another property into the portfolio, is how much room do I have there? And obviously rents over the last, number of years, and I think what will be coming too, is rents will continue to climb just much like housing prices have. And it will take people that were on the borderline and push them into push them into staying into rentals, or maybe even them taking the opportunity to say, I don't need brand new and shiny. I don't need the super awesome. I'm going to step back and go from an A+ class to a B+ class, and then use the next year to really save, and then, try and be opportunistic with the market. So for me, that's kind of how I manage that piece. Any thoughts on the above? So Andrew, I think I answered that question. If I didn't, you just say so. The Ramirez real estate team. So in order for me to performance the whole 4-3-2-1 strategy, I have to qualify during the whole process for what the lenders used to call first-time home buyer program, or FHA loan program. So, hey, thanks, Dion. Dion from the road. He's on his vacation. Thanks, Dion, for watching. Are you probably watching, waiting for that? Are you still waiting for that spindle? So Ramirez, sorry. So you don't. So my 4-3-2-1 strategy works with VA, FHA, or even conventional, because there's still 5% conventional loans out there. There's certainly 10% conventional loans as well, but there are 5% loans, there are 10% loans. And so this strategy still works. So let's scenario it through. Let's just say in inquiring all 4 of those properties that you're going to spend about $1 million. Well, you're going to be 3.5% down if you're FHA, 0% if you're VA. And at any time, what I'm saying is that you might not be able to refinance because the economy went sideways or something along those lines. If the economy goes sideways, right, and you can't refinance out of that property and get your FHA loan back or your VA loan back, you can still do an owner-occupied loan as a conventional with 5 or 10% down towards that new property. So, I've scenarioed this out with the person that just bought his place. I helped him with the deal. We got the seller to pay for closing. We got them to give a little bit of a credit for some work that needed done. And he only brought like $8,000 to the table. That's it. On a $300,000 purchase of a 4-unit that needs work, but he only brought about $8,000 to the table. So this is something where Ramirez, for the real estate team, this is something really important. You're going to see the market change. So if there's any real estate agents watching this, you're going to see the market change. When the market changes, you need to be bringing strategies to your prospective buyers that can help get them on the property ladder. Because other brokers that are just waiting for the phone to ring, or that the phone's been ringing for the last year and a half and there wasn't a whole lot of work involved, except if you had a deal, it's going to go back to the old way of doing things where you're going to have to really hunt for buyers, hunt for sellers. I mean, depending on what happens in the market. But I believe the most important thing is sitting down, talking with somebody about their goals, understanding what they're trying to do and accomplish, and giving them some other bona fide strategies to say, hey, you're first-time home buyer. You know what? You should probably look at this 4-3-2-1 strategy, because it really is going to put people in a pretty good spot. Give me just 1 second. I have a contractor that I want to make sure I answer. It's important to be timely. Okay. This is property management at its finest. Dion understands. Weekends are super busy for that reason, right? Because we do a lot of property management stuff. So like button smash. Thank you, Matthew Paris. I appreciate that. Any other questions, guys? I'm happy to stay on, answer some more questions. And Ramirez real estate team, if I didn't answer that thoughtfully enough or with enough data, say the word, and I'm happy to further indulge and get into it. But yeah, guys, this 4-3-2-1 strategy is absolute fire, especially for the kind of market that we're going to be going into, where right now prices are starting to teeter down a little bit. Obviously, rates, I think, are going to start to taper up a little bit. But I think that it's in these times of indecision that, really present with opportunity. I can tell you, for me specifically, I have bought I bought 4 properties in August. I was able to get 30-year fixed debt. Portfolio with a bank. Actually, one of them wasn't. One of them was a commercial deal. But the numbers were right. The numbers were right. The numbers made sense. At what point are you going to sell and homestead. At what point am I going to sell? So, man, Jason, that's a really good question. So we were just talking about that. I think that was an off-camera conversation I had with somebody. So I don't know what the number is. I honestly don't know what the number is. We're still growing now because I've spent 20 years cultivating a skill, understanding a market inside and out, knowing what things are worth. And what I feel like I'm kind of at cruising altitude. It's not to say I won't get hit by a cruise missile and blow up in the sky, but I think I'm at cruising altitude right now. And so I'm in my 40s. So I don't think I'm going to be selling off anytime soon. The only thing that I have done is I've sold off different asset classes based on what I think the pain is. I sold almost all my single families. I think I have one left. So I sold basically, except for the one I live in, of course. I sold off all my single family homes because the affordability index was nuts. It got down to 101. It made no sense whatsoever for me to hold that property, So if it makes no sense to hold that property, sell it. I took the money, I reinvested somewhere else. In fact, darn it, forgot to do that video. I got to do a video this week updating the $1 million challenge. $1 million challenge. If you guys don't know what the $1 million challenge is, check it out on the website. Mike Zuber's doing it as well. Dion's going to do it. I think I'm going to try and talk him into it because I think he would just absolutely crush it. I love working with Dion. So much fun. So glad I met him. But the $1 million challenge is buying a $250,000 piece of real estate and within a year turning that into $1 million worth of real estate. And I don't think you can do that with a single property. So it's basically buying and finding a way to sell and roll and buy multiples and create profit and all this other stuff. So it's multiple transactions, but that's really like a skill thing. So I wouldn't do it if you're brand new. It's definitely something if you've been doing this for a while. But yeah, buying a house, $250,000 and then turning that into $1 million worth of real estate within 12 months. That's the $1 million challenge. So yeah, to finish off Jason's question, going to sell. I don't see selling anytime soon. I see selling in and out of assets. Because again, what am I going to do with the money when I get it? Pay the government 39.7% or 28%, or, have a massive earnings year that, I have to end up paying 50% on. Yeah, none of that sounds appealing. And again, I don't really do it for the overall value of my portfolio. I do it much more for cash flow because I don't want to work anymore. I don't want to have a job anymore. So I really do it purely for the cash flow and for the freedom that it allows me to spend time with my kids. I have young kids, so I love spending my time with young kids. My young kids. Yeah, not just young kids, my young kids. Lesson Heidi Hefner, hi from Las Vegas. Hi, guys. It's so awesome to have you guys here. And by the way, I love Las Vegas. My wife and I are shopping for a home in Las Vegas. We were shopping it before COVID, so COVID completely screwed us. Because we're obviously not buying a home in Las Vegas now. So we're just going to have to wait. Vegas is one of those amazing, amazing cities. We love it. I go very often. And we love going to Vegas. Love the Summerlin area. Really love Summerlin. Love Summerlin. Love Red Rock. Henderson. Henderson's also very nice. So love that area. But yeah, we're going to actually get something out there. We want to, winters in New Hampshire are awful. If anyone lives here and I think we got like almost 100 inches of snow last year. Yeah, that sucks. So hi back to you guys. Like I said, love Vegas. Definitely. We will be there. I don't know. Depends on when the market shifts. So it's funny because we're on the sidelines just kind of hoping for that major adjustment. And usually it hits Vegas pretty hard. They get very high run-ups and very deep sell-offs. So we'll see if that happens. If it does, I can promise you I've been doing my homework now for about a year. And the year that I've been doing my homework has been for Summerlin. Yep. The crazy thing is I don't want to be on it. I don't care about golf. So I don't care about being on the golf course. But holy cow, I like a lot of the houses around the golf course just because of the view. But I'm not willing to pay that extra money for the golf course because I hate golf. I mean, I hate golf because probably I suck at it, but I don't really play. So yeah, that's that. All right, cool. Ramirez real estate team. Okay, cool. Yeah. So, and interested to hear Ramirez real estate team, interested to hear when you talk to folks, what their thoughts are on it, cause you kind of having to make the decision, is the most important thing to me getting into a house and getting on the property ladder, or is the most important thing to me living in a single family home? You know, if you just want to stop paying somebody else's mortgage, I mean, right, completely counterintuitive coming from a landlord. One of the things that we're really proud of, though, is we have 30 or 40, I don't remember, it's been a while since I looked at the numbers, but 30 to 40 people that moved on from our place and moved into a house. And we love that. We love that. We love that because we'll actually have a conversation with them. We'll talk to them about it. So we love that. We love that people are using us as that stepping stone to get to their own house. We don't take it personally. We just recognize that they're moving into a new house with new opportunities. So we're cool with that. All right. Last call for questions. I will answer any more questions as they come in if you guys have any. So we'll give you guys a couple minutes for questions. And while I'm waiting for questions, if anybody's typing anything. And for my super hardworking real estate agents, Jay and Darlene and Holly and Emma, thank you guys so much for all that you do. They are fantastic. They work super hard for me and I really appreciate it. And it's always such a pleasure to work with them. Yeah, it's great to have an amazing team. Now they don't work for me, but I still call them my team because, yeah, they're great people. They're great to work with. Oh, and Sarah too. Can you deduct work done yourself from a security deposit? Oh, that's a really good question. State law. So I would point you to state law and what your state allows. The only thing that it really depends. So A, check state law. B, I want to say for us, I don't think so. I don't think so. I'm not sure of that though. I would talk to an attorney in your state. I don't think so. Usually what we've done is I remember that we used to do a lot of that cleanup stuff or take care of that stuff. We used to do a lot of that ourselves and we never could deduct for it. So I think that's why we started hiring companies to come in and do it. The other thing too, real quick, is to that end is, if you have guys that have a labor rate, right, you can put them in there and say, this is what the rate's going to be to do these things. I saw one lease that had a $50 fee for cleaning the oven. And it actually had things stated out. You leave a dirty oven, $50. You leave a dirty bathroom, $50. It was kind of funny and I kind of liked it, but we still don't do it that way because it might be worse than that, So we'll bring in cleaners and say, listen, clean until we know that they're being given a professionally cleaned unit when they move in. So we want them to get a professionally cleaned unit when they leave, and they have to pay for that to get it to the right. Now, we've actually had tenants that have cleaned it that well where we didn't bring them in. And that's awesome. I prefer that. Do you realize what a huge pain in the ass it is for me to go out and call my cleaner and say, I have these 4 units that need to be cleaned and taken care of? That sucks. I don't like doing that. I like giving them the business because I like supporting my local people. But yeah, I mean, I much prefer just to be handed an immaculate unit like you were handed and give you your full security deposit back. I love that. That's big fan of doing it that way. Matt, will you have this YouTube live every Sunday at what time Eastern? Great question. Thanks for asking. It was a different time today because I decided to do it while my kids were napping. So my kids were all in bed and sleeping, and I think they still are. So I'm going to try and pick a sweet spot time. Definitely in the comments, please feel free to leave times that work for everybody. We've got a fairly small group right now. We've kind of fluctuated between 16 and 24, 25 people. So we've got a kind of a small group right now. But I think the last one we had up into the 40s. But I'm kind of flexible on Sundays, after like 11:30. kind of flexible on Sundays. And I want to be able to do this ongoing so people can ask questions and see what they talk about during the rest of the week. So I don't know that it will be every single Sunday, but that's kind of be the goal. I like to participate in mics on Saturdays because guys ask a lot of questions on stuff that we've covered for the week. Sorry for that noise. But stuff that we've talked about during the week, people like to ask questions because I'm there. So I like to attend that stuff and make sure I'm available. Dion's much better at it than I am. He's always on Bigger Pockets and always on the Facebook group. And I don't live on Facebook. My young kids take up a lot of my time, which is good. And I love that. Matthew Paris, any thoughts on Mike's video this morning? He covered his 5 things that scare him. I actually didn't watch it yet. I am usually a consumer of his stuff at night. Because all my kids are in bed, my wife's asleep, and get a little bit of me time. And that me time is usually filled with real estate videos. Kind of ridiculous. Consider watching George Gammon live stream later on today. Yeah, George is awesome. I really like George. If you guys watch George, you probably also watch The Uneducated Economist as well. And so his name is Simon. Simon's a great guy. It was a lot of fun having those conversations. I think that George is super, super smart. Dig him a lot. I wouldn't say, but I don't agree with a lot. Not a lot. I don't agree with some of the things that he says. And I do see the things that he's saying, but I also know that they take a significant amount of time. And I think the biggest issue that we have is that, I think it's going to be something outside of housing that actually affects housing, not housing itself. And for me, I've bought in every market, literally every single market. I was buying in 08, 9, 10, and 11, and 12 during the crash when things were starting to pick up steam, 13, 14, 15, 16. Like I've bought something every time, right? In all of those years. I've bought more now because I had the capital. Excuse me, I had the capital to be able to do it. But I think that when you look and evaluate the deal, if you're throwing appreciation or depreciation out the window and I don't have to worry about selling it because I have a seasoned portfolio where I have some stuff that I only owe 30% or 40% what it's worth, I think in those cases, so long as you're not running in an unhealthy area when it comes to your nut, how much you owe on a monthly basis versus what your rents are, that's what scares me about skinny deals, right? And doing things that are really, really tight. That's what scares me. I was there 10, 15 years ago. I'm there sort of now, so I won't, depending on the project, I won't take on a crazy large project. But again, it really, really, really depends on the deal. That's why I think every deal has to be evaluated at that time in that market. I'll share something with you guys that I don't think I shared on the channel yet. I bought a large 12-unit building. I was under contract 60 days ago at 1.5 million. They wanted 1.55 million. And I said, no. And they said, then we're denying your offer. Okay, sounds good. I talked to the agent about a month after that, and she said, yeah, no movement. And then a week later, movement. They went down to 1.45. I said, oh, interesting. Now I'm getting this $1.55 million property, which was overpriced, but I was willing to stretch it at 1.5. And it was a stretch. It was a stretch. It was something where I think I can do something with this thing. Here's the crazy thing, though. I talked about it with my bank. The bank said, listen, we'll support you. We'll let you do the deal. However, don't love it. And I was like, ooh, kind of hurt. I know that they love deals that I do, and I want them to love deals that I do, because they're my partner. Not on paper, but in true fact, they own the mortgage, and I want them to feel good about all the deals that we ever do. So in working with them, they just said, yeah, we don't love the deal, but we'll support you if you want to do it. That was enough to make me recoil and say, nope, walking away. When they came back at 145, but at that time I had the conversation with them. I said, well, what do you think this building should be done for? They said, yeah, high 1.3s. We'd be, mid to high 1.3s based on a few things, based on some of the expenses, we think high 1.3s. Okay, sounds good. So when they came back at 145, I said, nope, not interested. We're not there yet, but know that I'm still interested, would still love to do it. And so we talked about it. And yeah, absolutely was kind of excited, but distraught at the same time too, because 145 still didn't get it done. I just felt like the better step for me was to not even entertain it. And I said, nope, not interested. If they get more reasonable, come back to me. We just went under contract for 135, and they're taking almost 100 grand in seller financing. Almost 100 grand in seller financing. Yep. Now that's a good deal for me. And it's 10 years interest only on the deal. So, and 5%. So it's 5% interest only, 10 years out on just about $100,000. So it's a complete non-factor. It's a few $100 a month. It's almost nothing. But now I get to bring to the table, instead of having to bring, 25% of 1.55 million. Actually, they were going to have me take 30% of 1.55 million. I was going to have to come to the table with $465,000 plus closing costs. Now that I've gotten them to take on just about $100,000 worth of that debt, now that it's down to 1.35 million, now I'm bringing and I've gotten the bank to work with me to only now I only have to bring 25% to the table. I get to count their they're about 100. I get to count that towards my deposit, as far as fresh money in. And so it actually puts me in a position where, yeah, now I'm only going to have to put down 25%, but after they include that 75 in my number. And so I'm bringing to the table like 260, I think. 280. So 280 instead of 450. That 180 grand, 170 grand, 250, 260, 280. Yeah, 280, 450, 170. That 170 grand buys me another building almost the same size. Sorry, math on the fly on a Sunday. Let's see. You will be waiting for a while on a deal in Las Vegas. Yeah, absolutely. Low inventory everywhere, especially in Las Vegas. It's completely nuts. Especially Summerlin. That's the most sought after area that I've seen. Summerlin and Red Rock and Henderson, those kind of stay the same. So yeah, for us, that's why I was so bummed, is because I think it doesn't push me. It's not like it's pushing me out 6 months. I think it pushes me out years, like a year or two, maybe even 3. Because I think there will eventually be a correction. And I think that correction, I think there will be, again, not a wave of foreclosures. I think there will be some. I don't think it's going to move the radar really. I think it's just going to be an over time type of thing, where I think we're going to see a significant rise in interest rates. But again, I think that's over time. I called for on Mike Zuber's channel, I think there's 5% mortgages, I think by the end of 2022. I said 4 to 5, but I think by the end of the year it could be 5. But yeah, I'm thinking 4 to 5 right now. So yes, Matthew Paris, I love it when tenants get upset that they lost their deposits when they leave a year's worth of condiments stuck to the fridge door and 3 months of spilled food left behind. Yeah, right. I mean, we just had somebody do that. And here was the worst thing. They left, but when they left, they didn't call and say that they left. Not only did they not call and say that they left, they got their power shut off because they didn't pay their power bill. And because it was a shut off and not a move of tenant, the company shut the power off. Try opening up a fridge after 2 weeks of the power being off. Now, I didn't wait 2 weeks, but it took 2 weeks before they were gone and I could get back in the unit, and they hadn't had power for 2 weeks. So, and because the house was on a central hot water system, they still had hot water, and they didn't need, so they were able to live. The only thing that they couldn't do was refrigerate everything, and they just left it all in the fridge. Yeah, that peeved me just a little bit, but that's all right. They'll get a love note from me with why they're not getting a dime of their security deposit back. Nathan Peters, out of curiosity, what do you think of the Yankees? I'm always curious about the rivalry between Boston and New York. What I think about the Yankees is it was awesome coming back from 3-0 and winning the World Series back in 07. Or was that 04? I don't remember which was. I think the Yankees are an awesome organization, quite frankly. I really do. I think that Brian Cashman doesn't get nearly enough credit. I think that he does an amazing job. And sure, he has the deepest pockets in all of baseball, but it's because they were smart about what they did with the Yes Network. So I love the business behind it. But I think that, the Yankees do an amazing job year after year after year of trolling out these guys one after the other after the other. I wish the Red Sox had that. We've got Rafael Devers, Xander Bogaerts, Chavis, who was just traded, guys like Robbie Dahlback and things like that, but we cannot create pitching to save our lives. Kind of like the Yankees, but the Yankees will go out there and buy a super expensive pitcher, and that's okay. So yeah, I love the rivalry. I don't think it's much as what it was, because I loved the days of, Jeter and Jorge Posada and Mariano Rivera. Like the Red Sox, if anybody had Rivera's number, it was the Red Sox. So yeah, respect it. The thing that we both have to get over is the fact that the Rays constantly kick our ass with a payroll that's a fifth the size, right? So they're the ones who just continue to, pull out these amazing kids and just unreal pitching that end up, constantly, filling up the league. So we got Chaim Bloom from there, and hopefully that turns into something, it'll be hard. Yeah. I thought that they were a fake team this year anyway, just for the record. I did not think that they were going to lead wire to wire, just for what it's worth. I think they have a lot of holes in their team. And quite frankly, as soon as the Stickum stuff left, two of their pitchers have sucked since. So yeah, that is what it is. Let's see. So that's my thought on the Yankees. KZ Kreitz, sounds like you turned an okay deal into a great deal by being patient. Yes. Any tips on being patient for those deals? Exactly that. So I constantly am staying, if I'm in on a deal, I've done all the numbers, I know what the numbers are. And then I have my kill zone. I have my kill zone where I'm like, if I can get it in this range, right? So Mike talks a lot about in 2020, how he wrote 250, like talk about the diligence from that dude, like rock on, Mike. 250 deals he wrote, 250, and he got zero. Like, holy cow. I would be like walking the halls, look and eating grass out of my yard if I lost 250 deals. So I think Mike's awesome. And I think that what he said was every single deal that he wrote was based on it being a great deal for him. So I think it's the same thing. That's the same thing that I do today. Every single thing that I do is based on it being a great deal for me. If it is a great deal on paper for me, I'll execute. If I'm in a property that I like, that I think that I can do an ADU, I can drastically increase the rents because the landlord's been there for 40 years and he hasn't kept up with rent raises. That's one of the largest market inefficiencies that I see is landlords that have owned theirs for quite some time and they do it themselves and their rents are way below market. I bought a building for $350. Total rents were $3,800 a month. Crazy numbers. I totally believe I stole the property. Bought it for $350. Rents were $3,800 a month. I'm going to put $50,000 into the building. My rents are going to be $6,400 a month. That means that building's worth $550 to $600, 600 grand all day long. And that means I created that value in 1 year. So the patience thing, watch the deals that you're in, the deals that you like, watch for those reduced prices, watch for that thing trailing down. And now is going to be the opportunity where I just had one, $399. It was on the market for $399. They couldn't get an offer. They put it to $349. They got an offer. They got a deal and the deal fell through. Then I got contacted by a wholesaler and he says, yeah, I know it's an on-market deal, but I have an in with this real estate agent. I think he can get a crazy offer presented. Let's try and put something together. I walk it and I'm like, this place is not bad. I put the deal together. So $399 down to $349. I got a deal done at $287. I never expected it. I engaged them, and the number that I offered them first was $265. And $287 for me was still in the kill zone. I said, you know what? I'd be happy paying up to $300. That was my number. That was the number where I said, I walk at $3. So I got it for $287. And that property at $287, I'll put probably $30 into it. So call it $33 for simple math. I'll be $320 into it. I think that property appraises for $379 when I'm done. But more importantly is the cash flow. That thing's going to cash flow $2,000 aside, $4,000 a month. And my principal, interest, taxes, and insurance are going to be about $2,400 a month. So I'll make like $16 a month on that building. So value add. I'm a big value add guy. Love that. So that is your, patience on the deals is, yeah, keeping your chart, watching your chart, managing your chart, looking at these properties, understanding what your number is for that property, and then just watching it. And then if you get, kind of within range, right? If you get kind of within range, then it's worth having a conversation with your broker and saying, hey, let's just try and go in there with something, because people think that stuff should still be selling like it was 2 months ago. It's not. So it's an awesome opportunity to get in there and steal something, quite frankly, or steal something compared to what rates are and what going prices have been, because they might just need to get out is something. Thanks so much for the follow-up explanation of the 4-3-2-1 strategy. You're very welcome, JLo Flicks. And I've been eager to learn it. Now I can actually implement it, and given my current circumstances, yeah, watch it. Interested in your feedback. Let me know what you see. Not to live, but to check out Mesquite, Nevada, border town with Utah and Arizona, Nevada being much more tax-friendly state. Yep. Don't live there unless you're near death. That's good to know. For me, so the reason for Vegas isn't the tax status, because I have that in New Hampshire. I have no sales tax and I have no income tax. Ta-da. Meanwhile, I'm surrounded by a state called Taxachusetts, if that's what gives you any idea. And another state being Maine, which is trying to put a more and more progressive income tax in there. So New Hampshire is literally our state motto. If you don't know it, live free or die. It's kind of fits. Hence the Lumberjack landlord. So for me, the only reason for Vegas is my wife's classically trained vocalist. And so she loves the shows. And so we love good food, and Vegas has just a ton of that. So yeah, that's why we love Vegas. And she loves, standing outside like she's inside an oven. Not for me though, but that's okay. JLo Flicks, I'll be the ultimate poster child for this process, thus eradicating anybody else's concerns. Cool. So JLo, I look forward to that. Just wanted to say thanks so much for the live, Andrew. You're very welcome. Nathan Peters, thanks so much for the thumbs up. Thank you very much. Dan Hunter, can I deduct driving to Home Depot to make a key wasn't left at the unit from a security deposit, time or mileage? I believe so, but again, I don't give financial advice. I don't give tax advice. It depends on your state. I believe that I have to be honest. I put that type of detail in my taxes, but then I give my taxes to my accountant. So he does everything. So I give him all of the information, all of the data. And I always tell him, you know what our number one rule is? I look horrible in horizontal stripes. So make sure that we're conservative. So we don't take a lot of deductions that we could take by other landlords that I know are much more aggressive on the tax side. We're much more conservative. And so, yeah, the goal for us is, if it's not a real easy open and shut, if there's any kind of there's any kind of that, we don't do it. We don't do it. So we're just much less conservative. All right. So we are coming up on an hour and 12 minutes for this live cast. Guys, awesome. Thank you so much for the support. Thank you for the thumbs up. If you are in this and you haven't given a thumbs up already, please do so. It helps that awesome YouTube algorithm, which I cannot wait to just, completely understand, which I never will, because it constantly moves. So really appreciate the thumbs up. If you found any of this information fun or valuable, please hit those thumbs up. Tell your wife Leon Atkins is my neighbor. Amazing artist. This area may be a great choice for your family. Oh, very cool. Thank you. Yeah, she's a nurse. She's actually a nurse. So she's classically trained as a vocalist, but she actually is a nurse. My wife's an amazing nurse. I work in healthcare as well. This is what I do, the property stuff for fun. Because yeah, I don't know. I love it. Fell in love with it 2 decades ago and didn't trust the stock market and wanted to put my money into something where I could see a return and cash flow on that, because I didn't want to work for the man all the time. So that's it. So guys, thank you very much. Please thumbs ups and also subscribes. Love it if you guys would subscribe. This will be available shortly. And then the 4-3-2-1 course. If you are an agent or a broker, use these ideas to introduce your prospective clients into something. It is a super, super, super opportunity to help people achieve their goals and give them some out of the box thinking. Again, these are my experiences. This is what I did. This is how I got there. So results may vary, much like a diet plan, or size may vary. If you look in your rearview mirror, objects may not appear to be the size that they are based on what you're seeing. However, this is what I did. This is how I accomplished financial freedom and financial independence. And like I said, take any of it, take all of it, take none of it. But I wanted to make sure to spend that time with you guys today. Like I said, please subscribe, give me the thumbs up. And again, guys, thank you so very much. And we'll see you on Tuesday. I'll be on One Rental at a Time with Mike, and then Thursday with Dion. And then Friday, we're going to actually have some videos we're going to do with Mike. On Friday, we had to cancel this last week because of a bunch of refis that we got done, but we'll be talking about those. So guys, thank you very, very, very much. I greatly appreciate all of your support and look forward to the next broadcast. So thanks, guys. Take care. Bye now.